Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would sit down and do a video for you guys and gals. Get a sip of water, get my radio voice going, get it beautiful to match this face. Alright, let's talk about training volumes. Now, I want to preface this because I get a lot of nonsense and people are like, what are you talking about training volumes? You're not big. First of all, 47 years old and I am 215 pounds. That is my wake up weight in the morning with nothing on, with visible abs. Okay? No, you don't get to claim I'm not big. All right? You don't get to claim that. Sorry, objectively false statement. You might not like my proportions, you might not like my physique, but you can't say that. So let's throw that away when people say that nonsense. No results training. You guys have seen me deadlift 635 with no straps. Conventional. Seen me pause bench 365 for a 2-count pause flat-footed. And I'm 215 with visible abs. Almost 50 years old. Stop. So let's just get that out of the way. All right, when it comes to the training volume, I am the first to be absurdly skeptical of current exercise science because it's problematic. It is often poorly done. The studies have too few of test subjects. The data collection is oftentimes extremely terrible. It is not a particularly good field of science right now with the resources that are available to it. Plus, there's so much room for bias because some of the same names are too involved in too many different studies. Okay, in other words, that can create bias in and of itself, particularly when some of those people are involved in the data collection. So I want to be clear there. I am absurdly skeptical of it. But there is a growing trend in the data, and we have to accept that. And I'm going to need to make this video a couple times. We do need to be aware and look at it and say, okay, there is a growing amount of evidence emerging showing that there may not be an upper threshold. There's a diminished return, a rapid diminished return scale for increasing training volume and muscle growth. Okay? It's clearly very diminished any way you break it down. It's not linear. And we come back over to older science. Look, if I'm going to make those points about the quality of the science and I'm holding to older studies with the same set of problems, the same biases, the same low number of test subjects, some of which has been pulled out of peer review and thrown out. Some of those studies looking at the lower volumes, some of them were coming out of the same lab that were saying, hey, maybe 10 sets, 12 sets is all we, the thing is, guys, if you look at it, a lot of that has been kind of rejected with peer review. I've seen at least a couple of those studies, at least one of the researchers has pulled his data, okay? So here's the issue. We have to go off of the evidence that we have. And the evidence is that some of the lower volume data is being rejected due to the bad science. And there is a growing body from different researchers showing very, very high volumes are producing potentially a slightly more hypertrophy. Okay? Again, particularly as equipment and measurements are getting more sophisticated. All right? We can't ignore that. All right. Furthermore, historically there have been a wide diversity of volumes used successfully. Yeah, there have been. So if we're going to say, well, this is always junk volume, and because some of those other studies are suggesting less gains. But if you have champions, I mean, my God, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And before people jump in and say, well, gear, but the bodybuilders today use way more stuff. We are not even in the same ballpark. So I don't think you get to use that cop out here. But look at the volumes he used. Plus, there's even a point of contention as to how much gear enhances recovery because your strength scales Therefore, you guys see the problem? Sometimes I've seen the argument made for this by researchers. The additional recovery benefits of gear may be offset due to the extra muscle growth, the extra fatigue and everything by the amount of workload you're able to generate on a set per set basis. It may be enough to offset a lot of that recovery, if not all of it. So again, not a valid way to debunk that. But, you know, so look at some of those volumes. Same thing, you go back to when they were using even less than that and possibly natural. Some of those guys used really high volumes. They were exceeding 20 sets a week. They were still champions with phenomenal physiques. So anecdotally, historically, there is a basis for some of this. Okay? And that's the point we have to make. When we look at these upper volumes, we don't know where the threshold is. Now, can we look at it and talk about practicality for you as a person? Absolutely. Because just because the data shows no upper threshold does not mean that it's ideal for your lifestyle. And I've had someone chime in, well, it's not, that extra possible 3% isn't worth it. And I had that in the comments the other day, and I replied to him, for you, okay? For you personally, the extra time, the extra energy, all of that for that small amount isn't worth it for you. But you, and just like I, can't make that call for everyone else because that is a cost to benefit analysis. Not everyone has the same amount of free time. Not everyone wants to invest the same amount of resources. Everyone has to decide how much work am I willing to put in for a return if every 20 minutes or every minute or every hour that I put in pays less and less and less, you know, how much time am I willing to put in, right? It's kind of like if you had a job to where the first 20 hours a week you made, I don't know, whatever, $100 an hour. The next 5 you made $50 an hour. The next 5 you made 25 on a very quick diminished return. You know, someone would say, well, how many hours a week would you work? Do you see where I'm going with that? We can't say what that answer is for every person. A really lazy person might say 10. 10 hours. It'll give me the lifestyle I'd afford to have all this free time. Someone else who wants every penny might be, I'd work 60 hours a week. You know, even with a diminished return. Would that person be the exception? Yes, but they would exist. So when you look at it from that perspective, there's a diminished return. But then we come over to recovery being a variable. You know, will that extra volume for them to recover and benefit from it, will it require extra sleep, extra fatigue management, extra food, extra nutrition? Yeah. It won't always be for free, not just, it may involve more than just the time commitment in the gym. Okay? And that's a factor that has to be taken into consideration. But we do have to be honest in that based upon the data, we don't know where the upper threshold is. We don't know. And it's probably pretty high. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.